That sends the wrong signal about the value of life. A life in Baltimore should count as much as a life in Annapolis.
Baltimore City still reeling from its latest mass shooting 1 week after a mass shooting in Annapolis. The criticism for Governor Moore after he visited only one city in the aftermath. A Mount Vernon staple is saying goodbye, a look back at the difficult history Eddie's has had in Baltimore City as it gets ready to close for good.
The mistakes you've made in your life, it's upon you to make sure your children don't make those mistakes.
City State's Attorney Ivan Bates talks about the importance of fathers this Father's Day. His message to dads everywhere.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
And good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala. 2 people recovering after 2 separate shootings in Baltimore this weekend. The violence comes after a mass shooting in North Baltimore Friday night. Police say 6 people, including a 17-year-old, were hurt in that shooting at East Cold Spring Lane and York Road. And today marks 1 week since another mass shooting, this one in Annapolis. 6 people shot in a dispute over parking last weekend. 3 of the victims died. 43-year-old Robert Charles Smith is in custody in connection with that shooting. The governor was part of a news conference after the incident, but has not addressed Friday's shooting in Baltimore in person. Fox 45's Vincent Hill's been following the mass shooting since the news broke Friday night. He joins us now with a closer look. Vincent?
Yeah, Mary, right here is where those 6 people were shot Friday night, evident by the bullet holes still here at the bus stop. Meanwhile, the governor unveiling his crime plan, but it's still not clear how that plan will work.
1 week ago in Annapolis, 6 people shot in a mass shooting, leaving 3 dead after a dispute over a parking spot with a neighbor. The next day,
and for all Marylanders, I know that many people might be feeling numb right now.
Governor Wes Moore speaking on the desensitized feeling when it comes to gun violence.
Numb to the violence that we see in our streets and across the country.
3 days later, the governor taking a jab at the prior administration's fight on public safety.
But that was the past. This administration is ready to move in a different way. I'm data-driven, and this approach is backed by data.
His 3-part plan, not enough to stop a mass shooting the very next night, where 6 people were shot in Northeast Baltimore.
It can't be that some are so normal, so commonplace, that they don't deserve a comment.
Through Vignarajah says the governor is sending the wrong message, conspicuous by his silence on Baltimore's 4th mass shooting of the year.
That sends the wrong signal about the value of life. A life in Baltimore should count as much as a life in Annapolis. We know that's the way it's supposed to be, but we also know that that's not really true.
Meanwhile, Fox 45 pressing the governor on his data-driven plan and how it will lead to less crime.
What do you say to those who say your public safety plan may be a little soft on crime?
I'd say the more Miller approach to public safety is an all-of-the-above approach when it comes to addressing public safety.
The governor sticking to his previous talking points, a move Vignarajah says could be more about image than what's right for the state, especially Baltimore City.
It's easy to issue these platitudes and pledges, to resort and retreat to these talking points, and that it's hard to do the real work, to do the hard choices, the ones that might make you unpopular, but are what are actually needed.
Meanwhile, in the greatest city in America, the shooter that shot 6 people here is still on the loose. In Baltimore, Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
Vincent, thank you. Well, that mass shooting in Baltimore came just 1 day after Governor Moore unveiled his summer crime plan. As Vincent mentioned, it is based on 3 pillars: support for law enforcement, building stronger communities, and collaboration across all levels of government. Fox 45 News has heard from many law enforcement and political experts who are skeptical of the plan.
The bottom line is press conferences, policy papers, plans, while they're important, citizens don't give 2 cents about any of that. They care about wanting to feel and actually being safe. So a plan is only as good as its ability to be executed.
I've heard people talk about the substance of the plan, but the reality of the matter is what the governor's doing is say, I'm going to give you the resources and the tools you need to address your problem. I'm not going to dictate to you. I'm not going to be an overseer or a master.
Well, others argue the plan doesn't get to the root of the problem: illegal guns on Baltimore City streets.
I think it's a light framework. I mean, there's some ideas there that are really good as far as getting youth more involved in getting them jobs, some coaching and things like that. But they need to have more specifics, especially in the area where the problem is. It's guns and the proliferation of guns in communities. And that really isn't being tackled and may not get tackled really until the next legislative session in Annapolis next year.
Well, during this year's legislative session, lawmakers did not pass any law cracking down on violent offenders, including the Violent Firearms Offender Act. The only bill targeting criminals made the maximum penalty for illegally possessing a firearm uniform. Now, Fox 45 News pressed the governor on crime legislation multiple times throughout the session, but we didn't really get many straight answers.
A lot of bills didn't make it through that would have implemented more accountability for juvenile offenders. Do you know why those didn't move?
Well, I think it is incredibly important that we collectively deal with this issue.
Have you used your position in the governor's office to really lobby and push lawmakers to move forward on some of those bills?
Yeah, I've been very clear with not just legislators, but with also people throughout the state that the number one priority for any chief executive has got to be making sure that your people are safe.
While lawmakers didn't do much to crack down on illegal gun offenders, they did pass a bill restricting where legal gun owners with wear and carry permits can bring their firearms. That law is facing a legal challenge. And now a new Gonzales poll shows nearly 90% of Marylanders think the possession of a stolen firearm should be a felony. Critics say that's what the governor should be focusing on.
We talk about the gun violence on a regular basis. Possessing a stolen gun should be a felony. 90% of Marylanders agree with this. Why the legislature refuses to do this is beyond me, and why the governor, who has so much power and influence, cannot just say to the legislature, get this done, is beyond me.
Well, we want to hear from you. Do you think Governor Moore is the right person to tackle the state's crime crisis? So far, 96% of voters say no. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in. Well, Eddie's of Mount Vernon says it is closing at the end of the month. The beloved family-owned grocery store has served the community for decades. It made the announcement in a Facebook post. It didn't list a reason for the closure. Now, this isn't the first time the grocery store announced a closure. Last summer, the owner posted a sign on the store saying they would be closing, but quickly changed his mind, calling it a misunderstanding. At the time, Dennis Zorn told Fox 45 News part of the reason behind the closure was a rise in shoplifting and break-ins. He told us he had to pay for private security after employees had knives pulled on them twice.
That's $800 a week. And it's part of doing business, but, you know, I've got to make that up somehow.
Could crime push you out?
I mean, eventually, it's definitely taken a toll.
And again, it is not clear if crime led the store to close its doors this time around, to announce that it will be. Meanwhile, we are getting a better idea of how police are handling lower-level offenses like trespassing, loitering, and other so-called quality of life crimes. As reported by the Baltimore Banner, a memo from Acting Police Commissioner Richard Worley lays out how officers should carry out enforcement for those crimes. The memo says what arrests can be made without supervisor approval, including drug possession and prostitution. Some still require approval, though, including loitering and littering. It comes after City State's Attorney Ivan Bates started his new citation docket to tackle low-level crime. It is a sharp contrast from Bates' predecessor, Marilyn Mosby, who stopped prosecuting what she considered low-level crimes during the COVID pandemic, making the policy permanent in March of 2021. You can find more on the citation docket on our website, foxbaltimore.com. Well, today is Father's Day, and City State's Attorney Ivan Bates sat down with political commentator Armstrong Williams, along with his own father and his daughter, talking about the importance of having a father figure in children's lives.
Well, I think that your child didn't ask to be here. Your child was a gift, I believe, from God, and it's upon you to make sure that you shape who you are, your legacy, your background, everything that's good about you and the bad things about you. You know, your children will listen, they'll look, and they'll see. And at the end of the day, the mistakes you've made in your life, it's upon you to make sure your children don't make those mistakes. And that's why you have to invest the time. The time. When you invest the time, you'll see the benefits pay off. I'm a big believer of that. My father invested the
Committee. House investigators say he could provide valuable information in their investigation into the Biden family. Christine Frizzell reports.
A former business partner of Hunter Biden, just the latest witness to cooperate with the House investigation into the Biden family business dealings. Devin Archer has reportedly agreed to tell the Oversight Committee what he knows from his time working with Hunter Biden, including serving on the board of the Ukrainian gas company Burisma after being subpoenaed.
And what we want to know from Devin Archer is what exactly did the Bidens do to receive the millions and millions of dollars from Russia and Ukraine?
Those millions now believed to be 20 to 30 million, according to Chairman James Comer, who continues to assert Joe Biden himself was involved, a claim repeated by former President Donald Trump.
It's also no coincidence that these charges against me came down the very same day. Evidence revealed Joe Biden took a $5 million bribe from Ukraine. But the FBI and the Justice Department don't even want to talk about it.
Democrats want the FBI to talk about it as well. Congressman Jamie Raskin, in a letter writing, the FBI explained the investigation into Biden was closed because of insufficient evidence to warrant escalating the probe, asking Director Wray to state that publicly. In recent days, there were claims there may be audio recordings of Joe Biden from a whistleblower to help Republicans make their case. But their recordings, we're now learning, may not actually exist. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
A congressional hearing on the LIV Golf PGA Tour merger could happen within the coming weeks. That's according to Senator Richard Blumenthal. The Connecticut Democrat launched his antitrust probe into the controversial deal last Monday, calling on both organizations to submit their records related to the merger. Several lawmakers have raised concern over LIV Golf's connection to the Saudi Arabian government.
Not prejudging what the conclusions will be, but what the Saudis are doing here is not taking control of a single team or hiring one player. They are, in effect, taking charge of the entire sport.
Blumenthal is giving the PGA Tour and LIV Golf until June 26 to hand over the requested material.
It was a beautiful day with plenty of sunshine and hot temperatures, and tomorrow those numbers get just a little bit higher. 73 currently over Baltimore with a few areas of patchy fog. Our visibility is down to 6 miles. Across the state, our temperatures are mainly in the 60s and the 70s, and overall pretty nice and quiet. Tomorrow, however, we are talking higher temperatures and also a code orange air quality alert. That means unhealthy for sensitive groups, including children, the elderly, and those with asthma or lung and heart diseases. That's for all of the areas in orange tomorrow. The good news is that the air quality will begin to improve as we get closer to the middle of the week. We're looking at good air quality on Tuesday and once again on Wednesday. So tomorrow, just make sure that you are being cautious of that worse air quality, the poor air quality that we'll have. Notice on the future scan, not too much happens overnight. We stay nice and quiet. We'll wake up to a few clouds and temperatures around 7 a.m. in the 60s. Then heading into the afternoon, we'll have mostly dry weather. There's the chance for a very isolated shower. Most of us remain dry. There could be a spotty shower for the night and possibly a couple of stray showers leading into Tuesday morning. The rain will gradually start to taper, and by the afternoon, it looks mostly dry. Those showers will stay farther south, possibly impacting southern Maryland and into Virginia. We'll stay mostly dry on Tuesday, but rain chances will begin to increase after that. As we head into Wednesday, Thursday, and even into the weekend, we've got the daily chance, at least for a few spotty showers. And the rain is much needed, much of Maryland in a moderate drought, so this will certainly help improve some of those conditions. 62 for the low temperature with mostly clear skies overnight and light winds. Then tomorrow, those high temperatures reach the upper 80s and the low 90s. This would be just the second time this year we've been in the 90s, so it's certainly been a little bit lower for temperatures. And notice 83 on Tuesday. Below average for this time of year. Then we're talking the 70s for the middle of the week, including on the first day of summer. After that, we're back to the 80s with a chance for showers and storms. Back to you.
Well, Baltimore City was not the only place to see a mass shooting over the weekend. A closer look at the deadly incidents all over our nation. We are following some breaking news out of Northeast Baltimore. This is a live look at the scene along Montebello Terrace, where police say a 52-year-old woman was shot just after 9 o'clock tonight. She was taken to the hospital. We see the crime tape up there, officers at the scene. No word on the woman's condition. Again, a 52-year-old woman shot in Northeast Baltimore tonight. Anybody with any information should call police. And multiple mass shootings across the country this weekend, including at a Juneteenth celebration near Chicago. According to the DuPage County Sheriff's Office, 20 people were shot early this morning, one of them fatally. Police were in the area monitoring the event when they heard gunshots. They say an unknown number of suspects fired multiple rounds from multiple weapons into the crowd.
We were all just out, and next thing you know, shots just got going off, and everybody ran, and yeah. It was chaos.
I've never been in anything like this, honestly. Honestly, I have a headache from the whole commotion. Yeah. All I could do is check on my friends and want to see if everything was okay.
And in Washington State, day 2 of an electronic dance music festival had to be canceled today following a mass shooting overnight. 2 people were killed, 3 others hurt, including the shooter, who is now in custody. In Missouri, police in St. Louis are investigating a shooting that left 1 juvenile dead and 9 others hurt. That shooting happened during a gathering inside a building. Well, still ahead, a group of dads getting ready to bike more than 100 miles for a good cause. Why they're doing it? For their kids. But first, a former FBI agent exposes issues inside the agency. That's tonight's Full Measure report. Well, issues inside the FBI are coming to light, and tonight, Full Measure Shah Atkinson talks with a whistleblower who claims things are broken at the highest levels inside the nation's premier law enforcement agency.
Stephen Friend started his career as an FBI special agent in 2014. He says his job was without controversy until he began questioning some of the FBI's motives and practices. It began with the political kidnapping plot against Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
The
FBI Detroit office opened an investigation on individuals that said they were part of a militia that was intending on kidnapping and assassinating Gretchen Whitmer. We were one of the tactical teams that assisted with the takedowns there. I thought that I'd done good work that day. In the fallout, it appeared that the undercovers and the case agents were driving this case and driving this narrative to entrap individuals who were not disposed to commit the crimes. And I frankly felt like I'd been used as, as an apparatchik of a politically driven agency.
He was reassigned to